They ran out of food on day 9. They ran out of water on day 11. But somehow, they were still alive on day 47. This is not a movie. This is not a legend. This actually happened. In 1972, a small fishing boat named the Lucky Lady left the coast of Florida with 5 men on board. They were experienced, calm, confident. This was supposed to be a short trip, just a few days at sea, then back home. They waved goodbye. They laughed. They promised their families they would be back soon. They never imagined the ocean was already deciding who would live and who would die. On the 3rd night, the weather changed. Not dramatically, not like in the movies, just enough to be dangerous. The engine coughed. Once, twice, then went silent. The boat drifted. No radio, no GPS, no working engine. Just 5 men and an endless ocean in every direction. At first, they were calm. Someone said, "Don't worry, someone will find us." But the ocean has a way of making promises feel like lies. By day 4, the sun became their enemy. By day 6, their skin cracked and blistered. By day 9, the food was gone. They tried to drink seawater. They learned the hard way why you never should. Hallucinations started early. One man swore he saw land. Another saw his wife standing on the waves calling his name. By day 11, the water was gone. And that's when the real story begins. Because hunger hurts, but thirst breaks the human mind. Out here, morality doesn't disappear all at once. It erodes. Slowly, quietly, and soon they would face a question no human should ever have to answer. How far are you willing to go to stay alive?
For the first 2 weeks, they survived on hope. Hope is a strange kind of fuel. It doesn't feed the body, but it convinces the mind to keep going. They rationed everything. 1 tiny sip of water per day. 1 small piece of dried fish divided into 5. They used their shirts to collect rain. When clouds appeared, grown men prayed like children. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. By day 15, their bodies were changing. Their lips split open, their tongues swelled, their eyes burned constantly, staring at nothing but blue. One man, named Carlos, stopped talking. He just stared at the horizon, whispering numbers. Nobody knew what he was counting. Another man, James, became angry. Every sound annoyed him. Every movement felt like a threat. This is what starvation does. It turns friends into problems. On day 17, they caught a small fish with a piece of wire. It was barely enough for 1 person. They argued. Not loudly. Quiet arguments are worse, because they come with calculations. Who needs it most? Who is strongest? Who will die first anyway? In the end, they cut the fish into 5 pieces, so small they disappeared on the tongue. It changed nothing. By day 20, they stopped talking about rescue. No one said it out loud, but everyone felt it. The shipping lanes were far away. Planes flew too high. The ocean had swallowed them. At night, the cold was unbearable. During the day, the sun felt like fire. Sleep brought no rest, only dreams of water. Fresh water, cold water, endless water you couldn't drink. By day 22, Carlos collapsed. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just sat down and didn't get back up. They tried to wake him. They shook him. They begged him. Nothing. The ocean was quiet. For a long time, no one spoke, because now the question was no longer, will we survive? It had become something far worse. What do we do when the first one dies?
They waited for hours, then for an entire day. Carlos never moved. The sun rose. The sun fell. The ocean stayed silent. No one said the word dead, because saying it would make it real. Finally, James whispered, "He's gone." No crying, no shouting. Just 5 men sitting in a broken boat with a body between them. At first, they talked about respect, about prayer, about doing the right thing. They slid Carlos's body toward the edge of the boat. The ocean deserved him, they said. The ocean had taken everything else. But before they could let him go, one of the men stopped them. His name was Michael. He didn't look at Carlos. He looked at the others. And he said, "If we throw him into the sea, we all die." No one answered, because everyone understood exactly what he meant. Hunger had already stripped away comfort. Thirst had taken their strength. Now survival was asking for something else, something darker. They argued, quietly, desperately. This wasn't about cruelty. This was about time. How many days could a human body last without food? How long before the next one collapsed? Finally, someone said, "He wouldn't want us to die." That sentence ended the argument. They turned their faces away. No one watched. No one prayed. They did what humans have done for thousands of years. When pushed beyond the edge, they survived. That night, no one slept. The ocean rocked the boat gently, as if nothing had happened. By morning, something inside them had changed. They were still alive, but they were no longer the same men who had left Florida. And deep down, each of them knew the truth. Once the line is crossed, there is no crossing back.
After that night, time lost its meaning. Days blurred together. Hunger became normal. Guilt became background noise. They stopped counting how long they had been drifting, because numbers stopped helping. Their bodies survived, their minds did not. Michael started talking to the ocean, not praying, not shouting, just talking, as if the water could answer back. James began to laugh at strange moments, short, sharp laughs that ended too quickly. No one laughed with him. One man refused to eat anymore. He said he'd rather die human than live as something else. 2 days later, he collapsed. They didn't argue this time. They didn't talk about morality. They didn't look away. Survival had become automatic. At night, the hallucinations returned stronger. They saw ships that weren't there. They heard voices calling their names from the waves. One man swore he felt rain on his tongue, but the sky was empty. Their skin peeled, their wounds never healed. Salt burned everything. By day 30, the smell of death never left the boat. No one cried anymore. Crying required energy. They existed in a quiet, hollow state, halfway between living and already gone. One morning, James didn't wake up. The sun rose, the boat drifted, and only 3 men remained. They didn't say his name. They couldn't afford memories, because now they understood the final truth. The ocean wasn't trying to kill them.
By day 38, only 2 men were left. 2 shadows on a broken boat. 2 hearts beating, barely. They no longer spoke. Talking reminded them they were human. One of them, Michael, could no longer stand. His legs had forgotten their purpose. The other, David, tied a rope around Michael's waist at night. Not to save him, to keep him from slipping into the sea while he slept. They took turns watching the horizon. Not for ships, for the end. On day 41, David stopped seeing clearly. The world pulsed. The sky bent. The ocean breathed. He told Michael he could see birds. There were no birds. On day 45, Michael whispered, "I'm tired." Those were the most dangerous words. David held his hand, not as a friend, as a witness. The next morning, Michael was gone. David was alone. 1 man, 1 boat, an ocean that didn't care. He expected to die that day. He almost welcomed it. Then he heard something. Not a voice, not a hallucination. An engine. He lifted his head. The movement nearly killed him. On the horizon, impossibly small, was a ship. David screamed. Nothing came out. He waved. He collapsed. The ship changed course. When they pulled him from the boat, he weighed less than a child. His skin barely covered his bones. His eyes were empty. A sailor wrapped him in a blanket and asked, "How long have you been out here?"
David survived, but survival is not the same as being saved. When he woke up in the hospital, he cried, not from pain, from water, fresh water, clean water, unlimited water. Doctors said it was a miracle he was alive. Reporters said he was a hero. David didn't correct them, because heroes don't wake up screaming at night. Heroes don't avoid mirrors. Heroes don't taste salt in every meal for the rest of their lives. When the story reached the public, people argued. Some called him a monster. Some called him brave. No one asked what it felt like to make those choices. David never spoke publicly about the details. He changed his name. He moved inland, far from the ocean. But the ocean followed him, in dreams, in silence, in the sound of waves that weren't there. Because the truth is simple and uncomfortable. The human body can survive almost anything. The human mind remembers everything.
Out there, on that broken boat, there were no villains, only people. People who wanted to live. And sometimes, that's the most frightening story of all. The world moved on quickly. Another headline, another tragedy, another story replaced his. People forgot the names. They forgot the boat. They forgot the faces. But survival stories don't end at rescue. They just change location. David tried to live a normal life. He worked simple jobs. He avoided crowds. He never explained why he hated the sun. Every time he closed his eyes, he was back on that boat. The smell, the silence, the sound of breathing slowly stopping. He learned something strange about memory. The brain doesn't replay events in order, it plays them randomly, without warning. A glass of water, a hot day, the smell of fish, and suddenly, he was drifting again. Sometimes people asked him, "Would you do it again?" He never answered, because that question comes from comfort, from full stomachs, from safe beds. Out there was no philosophy, no debate, no audience, only one rule: live today or die today. Survival doesn't make you strong, it makes you honest. Honest about what humans really are when everything is stripped away. Not good, not evil, just desperate. If you listen carefully, the ocean is always asking a question. Not out loud, not clearly, but it's there. What would you do? Not in theory, not in a comment section. Out there, when your body is failing, when help is not coming, when tomorrow is not promised. Would you hold on to morality, or would you hold on to life? We like to believe we are different, better, stronger, but history tells a quieter truth. In extreme survival, there are no monsters, only humans pushed too far. David never returned to the sea, but the sea never left him. And maybe that's the real cost of survival. You don't escape the ocean, you just carry it inside you. So tonight, when you drink a glass of water, when you eat without thinking, remember this story. Not to feel fear, but gratitude, because comfort is invisible until it's gone, and survival is never free. Even after rescue, the mind refused to leave the ocean behind. David slept, but never truly rested. Every creak of a chair, every splash of rain, brought him back to the boat. He saw faces of friends who had died, not clearly, just flashes. Sometimes he heard Carlos's whisper, sometimes Michael's laughter. His mind stitched memories into nightmares. He tried to work, tried to live normally, but nothing felt ordinary. The smell of salt was everywhere. The taste of dried fish never left his tongue. A drop of rain on the skin, and suddenly he was adrift again. He avoided mirrors. He avoided kitchens, because every reflection reminded him of survival. The human mind, when pushed beyond limits, remembers more than the body can endure. And slowly he realized survival doesn't end with rescue. It continues. Inside the mind, inside every thought. The quietest moments were the hardest.
The absence of danger brought no relief, only memories, only guilt, only questions that could never be answered. History is filled with stories like this, though most remain untold. In 1914, the Endurance expedition drifted for months on Antarctic ice. Men huddled, rationed, and watched friends succumb to frostbite. In 1972, another fishing boat disappeared near Alaska. 3 men survived after eating their remaining provisions one bite at a time for 20 days. And in every case, the lesson is the same. Human survival is not about strength. It is about adaptability, decision-making, and courage under impossible pressure. David studied these stories after his rescue. He realized he was part of a long lineage of men pushed beyond human limits. It didn't make him proud. It didn't erase the memories, but it offered perspective. They survived not because they were stronger, but because they made decisions that others couldn't face.
Now imagine yourself in his place. No food, no water, no help coming. What would you do? David never wanted to think about it again, but he did. Every night. He learned that survival is never free. It always comes with a cost, a weight you carry for the rest of your life. When you drink a glass of water, remember him. When you eat without thinking, remember the ocean he never left. Because survival is not measured in days, it is measured in choices, in the small acts of courage, and in the silent battles fought inside your mind. And sometimes, the hardest story to tell is not about the body, but about the mind that refuses to let go. This is not just a survival story. This is a reminder. Comfort is invisible until it's gone, and life is never guaranteed. So when the waves crash, when the wind howls, and when you feel powerless, remember, you are stronger than you think, but the cost of survival is something only you